Mardi Gras? Is it Mardi Gras? Do we take our shirts off for Derek Carr?
Oh, I have an undershirt on.
Oh, sucker. Oh, we got to shave GPS or TG in here, don't we?
Yeah, you do. Oh, baby. We here.
We manually steer
you in the right direction. Welcome to the Monday edition of the Grossi Perna Show. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna, and this is GPS.
and
ladies and gentlemen,
stands for Saints signing Derek Carr.
That's right. We got some breaking news as the dominoes slowly begin to fall. And that is Derek Carr, not David Carr, as Mike Garofalo tweeted out, is signing a 4-year deal with the New Orleans Saints. The Saints had been the favored team of Carr for a while now. However, it's a gift. However, there was, of course, like him meeting with the Panthers, the Jets. The Jets are like, oh, that's a Hall of Fame QB right there. But the Saints are the ones who are going to get it done. And the contract details have not come out. It's just going to be 4 years. But rumors are it's a boatload of money. So
the Jets were like, we will blow you, Derek Carr. And he was like, well, let me think about my options here. But we will fillet you.
They're also like, we would do that, but we're also going to wait to put out until Aaron Rodgers makes a decision. And so now
we get this date. Woo!
That's
but
it.
we got another date in the works. So we'll see what she says.
So we're going to talk about how this actually impacts the NFC South, because he goes to a wide open division now because the Buccaneers, they're going to be in full-blown rebuild mode. The Panthers, they have a young defense. Like, they're looking pretty good, but they need a quarterback as well. Sam Darnold, I don't really know if you want to do that. So good luck, TBK. And the Falcons are the Falcons. So there's a lot of rebuilding going on in the NFC South. And someone tweeted this out too, that he went from the AFC West, where there's like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Patrick Surtain II. See, I said something nice about the Broncos because I can't say
our corner is our most notable player.
Did you see what Surtain tweeted? That I think he did tweet it out late last week when it was like, who was like the best? Oh, someone said like Jerry Jeudy's the best player on the Broncos.
Yeah, that's local radio. Darren McKee, D-Mac, who knows how to ruffle some feathers. But yeah. He said, then he went on to double down and said, playing wide receiver is harder than corner in the NFL. Put corner as like the 6th hardest position to play on football team. Yeah. You got to get those clicks. You got to say the dumb stuff to get the clicks.
No. Well, Kamara's he's probably going to get suspended. So they're not going to cut him, but he's going to get suspended.
Kamara's got a trial date at the end of July. And I did a video on it Friday. And all the footage of that fight is not helping Alvin Kamara.
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah, so, no. Anyway. Yeah, before we also, because we have to talk about how this is going to impact the NFC South, but also like this is likely to be Aaron Rodgers week, in which you have Derek Carr being signed by the Saints. That's a huge move because now the Jets are in a position where they're like, do we go with Jimmy Garoppolo, who's going to be much cheaper and we don't have to give up any draft capital? Or do we potentially make a swing at Aaron Rodgers? But again, we don't know what Aaron Rodgers wants. However, there is a lot of smoke, Brandon Perna. There is a lot of smoke that say the Packers want to move on from Aaron Rodgers, and it's coming from a lot of different sources. And I know, you take it with a grain of salt, but
you know what actually makes me think that the Packers are ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers more than anything?
Tell me.
Is I've seen like slow leaking of tweets saying that Aaron Rodgers wants to go back to the Packers now.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that is the Packers being in a position where they do want to move on from him, in Aaron Rodgers' camp, which if it were a normal camp, I would really believe this, but starting to leak that Rodgers wants to return to Green Bay, but that the Packers don't want him, but he's going to allow them to trade him so that he can look like
battle the PR
guy.
battles.
Yeah. I don't think Aaron Rodgers leaks stuff though. I think what we're getting is probably just the Packers ready to move on and build for their future. But who knows? Like, we'll see if I were Rodgers and I were really wanting to take over the media, I would announce that I'm returning to Green Bay right now.
Without even
give Derek Carr less than an hour to enjoy being the top NFL headline.
Justin, what a finish!
Whoa.
Whoop, for the kitty. Panthers and Jets go more aggressive. Panthers.
Ooh. Yeah, I heard some Panthers Rodgers stuff as well this weekend.
Yeah, but that was like some idiot just tweeted that out, and like it was like with like Schefter, and I think Schefter just made it up or some crap because then it was disproved an hour later.
Dang.
So, yeah, I think it's still the Jets. I think the Jets are like the front runners because it seems like the Raiders have no interest right now, and the Saints.
Yeah.
They're going to be just fine. I think like they're going to be the favorites now in the NFC South, regardless of who. I think the only other team that's really going to be a problem is the Panthers, and that just depends on their QB because I like their defense a lot. It's just going to be a matter of like what they do at offense. I imagine they're going to be potentially trading up, and the Lions, they're going to be fine. I think they still go after franchise QB if I'm them, but that's just me.
It's like, like buttholes, everybody has one.
That was awesome.
You know what everybody doesn't have? Quarterback. A quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of QB stuff. Before we do that, because I saw this pop up right before we went live, and I was like, this is insane. So, unfortunately, one of the top prospects at O-lineman, Andrew Voorhees, tore his ACL while doing drills at the combine. And he tore it, so like that's of course like devastating. It's probably going to obviously push him down the draft boards. However, this morning he still did the bench press and pumped 38 reps of 225, which is the most in the combine this year. And he only had one leg on the ground because he tore his ACL yesterday. That's insane. That is the amount of strength that I will never have in my life. That is crazy.
Is he a descendant of Michael Voorhees by any chance?
No, he's a descendant of Jason Voorhees.
Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, he doesn't die, and he is afraid of water. Yep.
If he had to do those bench presses next to a lake, no chance. No chance.
Yeah, then there's not. JB, I think JB is going to be very happy.
Yeah.
So
I wonder do you know what drill he was doing? It was probably one of those like shuffling around drills when he tore his ACL, I would imagine.
Also, you like Michael Silver?
The reporter?
Yeah. He's pretty trustworthy, right?
No, I think like he has decent information.
Yeah.
Not my favorite reporter.
Yeah. Because he doesn't expect the Bills to go after Derek Henry.
Yep. Well, definitely not my favorite reporter. Like I said.
All right, let's sorry, I had to. So let's just jump into Derek Carr being signed. So again, I'm checking the Twitters just for whenever this contract information is going to be put out there. But I mean, if you're the Saints, you kind of love this. You didn't have to trade anything to go and get him because there was that talk of before the deadline, but the Raiders just wind up releasing him. So now they're just going to give him a boatload of money. And with their cap space, I'm sure it's going to be pushed out a lot. He's going to make like $1 million this year, and his signing bonus is going to be spread out for the next 5 years. But you got to love that you get your QB. You can potentially win the division with the team that you have currently, because I think they have a good enough team. Their defense is solid enough. Their offense I mean, who knows about Michael Thomas? We'll see. Alvin Kamara, let's see how long that suspension is. But I think they have a solid enough team. They're well coached. I know that there's some fans that are mad about Dennis Allen, but I think they're in a good spot right now. And Carr, I know you have a lot of, I want to say sympathy, but I feel like you give a lot of leeway to Carr because it's like, hey, you know, he hasn't had a good defense. The O-line has been bad at times. And I do think that Carr gets crapped on a lot. I don't think he's an elite, amazing QB, but I think he's a good QB, and I think he can win games. So as long as he's not turning the ball over, like, you're good.
Yeah. Like Carr to me has, on a given season, he has the potential to be like playing his best, like the 6th or 7th best quarterback in the league. His floor is like 15th or 16th worst in the league, right? And he kind of hovers around that 11 or 12 spot. He never has had a good defense opposite of him. And watching him, playing against him twice a year, like he's a quarterback I respect but don't fear. You know what I mean? And the Broncos, like they've been swept by the Raiders for like 2 straight years. It hasn't been fun. But like if you're looking at him and Jimmy Garoppolo because they're the second 2 quarterbacks, like Carr's, I think, just a little bit better of a QB than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think they're similar in that they can both be safe with the football. I think like the knock on Carr is he plays a little scared sometimes when pressure is all up in his shit, as the NFL experts say it. That's actually a new stat on PFF. How the QB performs when defense is all up in their shit. And we'll see. Like for the Saints, he's a huge upgrade over Andy bore me to death Dalton and Jameis. I should be in jail Winston, allegedly. But like, you're right. It's just such a good situation for Carr. And once we see what this contract number is, I think we'll just, if he gets like the kind of money where we're like going, oh, why'd they pay that much for Carr? So I think we know for Carr what made his decision in terms of where he went with his next team, because it looked like the Saints were a lock to sign him, right?
Yes.
Because he met with them twice and then told the Raiders he's not going to be traded to anyone. And then he took his time. He wanted to talk to the Jets. He wanted to talk to the Panthers. And then he just goes back to the Saints. So I feel like both the Panthers and the Jets are better teams and would have given Derek Carr a better chance to succeed. So to me, it feels like the Saints were just like, we'll give you the most friggin' money. And he was like,
so that's the thing. What would you say is an overpay for Derek Carr per year? Like, are you looking at giving him $40 million a year? Because like, again, there's a lot of Daniel Jones chatters coming out again and saying that he's going to make a lot of money. So I mean, because listen, the problem is the QB market is all out of whack, right?
It is weird now.
Deshaun Watson's contract absolutely destroyed things because it was fully guaranteed. He got a ton of money. They made a big time trade, ton of draft capital for him. But now it's like, okay, where is the new average for QBs? Because you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers who's making like $50 million a year, right? You look at, you see Patrick Mahomes, like his numbers starting to climb up a little bit because we're starting to get later into that contract that he signed for $500 million. You know, like there's, what is too much for Derek Carr? Is it 40 million? Is it 45 million? Is like 30 million? I think like that would be an amazing deal, but I don't think it's going to be that low.
No, it's like, see, Mahomes' average is 45 million right now.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, 43. Russell Wilson, 48. Kyler Murray, 46. Watson, 46. Dak, 40. Stafford, 40. Rodgers, 50. So it's going to be over 40 mil a year, I believe, for Derek Carr. Daniel Jones wants 45, and they're having a hard time like finding the right number. So, I mean, if Carr gets, if he gets over 45, like
I don't think he's going to.
He was going to make 40 million, right, this year, and that's why they had to cut him, because was all 40 or 30 of the 40 going to be fully guaranteed if they didn't release him? So if it's around 40 million a year, then it's what he was going to make. 45 seems like kind of just what the market's dictating. If it's over 45, then it's like, ooh. That's my reaction. But again, he does make the Saints better right away. So he's reuniting with Dennis Allen. Like, I think that's big. You know, I just think Derek Carr with the Panthers would have been better than Derek Carr with the Saints, but Derek Carr with the Saints still makes them the best team in the division.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's a steal for Mahomes right now.
Because remember when he signed that and it was like $500 million, but it's just that cap is going to keep on going up, and those numbers, when we start getting to Joe Burrow extensions, like it's going to shatter what the market is. And I know we're talking about Carr right now, but it relates to it and talking about what he's going to get paid, because Lamar Jackson, those two sides have still not come together. And they're talking about probably going to have to franchise tag him and continue to try to work out a deal, because that's going to be a good amount of money. So when we get to Joe Burrow, like there's going to be like, you're going to see like $50-55 million a year. Like it's just going to continuously go up as the cap goes up. And you look at also like these wide receivers who are starting to make insane money too. The most valuable position is QB. And now I think when you're talking about Derek Carr and talking about his ceiling, I do think his ceiling is higher and your big play opportunities are higher than Jimmy G, but I think Jimmy G is safer with the football. But again, you also look at offensive lines, because I think the O-line of the Raiders has been...
Yeah, it hasn't been great. But like, if you want to find like a knock on Carr from last season, it's that Josh Jacobs had an incredible year.
He did.
So they had like this great run game, and they still just weren't able to be consistent in the passing game. Now, there were injuries to Darren Waller and Third and Renfro for, middle chunk of the year. Devontae Adams obviously just was the number one target and destroyed. So there's a great connection and chemistry between those two. But I put most of I don't even put most of that blame on Derek Carr. I put it on Josh McDaniels. He's supposed to be the offensive guru, right? Like, that's what he's known for. And somehow he made Derek Carr look worse. And now there's rumors that the Raiders are interested in Mac Jones. Again, don't know if those are true. Don't even know what the source of the tweet was, but I saw a tweet about it. So in my head, let's just call it Mac Jones to the Raiders.
This is how rumors are spread, Brandon. This is how, like, some random like Twitter user 5615 was just like, Mac Jones to the Raiders, and Brand's like, yes. I saw
the Ravens right now,
that.
They've got a shit ton of cap space too. I didn't realize how much cap space the Ravens have. Like, just pay Lamar Jackson, you idiots. Just stop being stupid.
Is that your professional take?
It's so easy. It's so easy. Just pay the man. God. You got the bad PR from your crappy training staff, strength coach.
You did.
Your team is awfully injured. And when Will and I had Derek Wolf on our podcast this last year, we talked about like the difference between like the Ravens and the Broncos. And Wolf was like, they overwork the players. He's like, the injuries there are alarming, because he was talking about Fangio working the guys too hard. He was like, it was worse in Baltimore. And because we were talking about Hackett giving them time to rest. This was early when we still had hope. And he's like, they might be getting too much rest. The middle ground's probably the answer. But like, it's no surprise that the Ravens, like all that stuff came out about him.
But McDaniels, I just saw this at the end of last week. Like, something came out saying, oh no, that was in the report card. Didn't you tweet that out? Saying that McDaniels, like, they practiced like way too much and they didn't really see like they worked for a really, really long time and they didn't really see the investment pay off.
Yeah, and it was like the Raiders, the coaching staff was like the knock was weren't likely to listen to players and their suggestions, which is on par with everything we know about Josh McDaniels.
I love how much you love Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. But like the Broncos didn't score well in a couple categories, and there's been like some there's been an article by Mike Kliss about how maybe the players voting is a little distorted, and talked about like the nutrition and food was ranked low for Broncos, but they've had like a great chef there who's specifically tailored meals, and they cook everything in house. They'll fly like lobster in, and like all this stuff that they do to provide. And like one of the knocks was they didn't provide vitamins, and apparently like teams can't provide supplements to the players or the nutrition. I don't know what it was. So there's like a bunch of weird stuff. Like all of that probably needs clarity. And there's also probably a level of when your team is losing and there's a lot of negative attention focused on them. You're less likely to, I would think, hand out good grades.
Do you think that these report cards, because I imagine they're going to start doing these every year, because these were also like really popular, like they were like good talking points for a lot of the media. So do you think that these reports would actually lead to change in some organizations, or do you think it's going to kind of be window dressing?
I think organizations that have money will invest in it if they feel they need to. But, you know, let's just put it this way. There will still be rats around the Jaguars training facility.
There might be.
Yeah.
There might be.
There will be rats.
All right. So, yeah. So Saints, I think that they've gotten better. They're in a better position. Yeah. Like Chris Olave, oh my God. Like he could tear it up. Like that they could be a lot of fun. And we'll see what the hell happens with Michael Thomas, because if Michael Thomas is actually healthy and can actually play even close to where he was, it's just we haven't seen him on the field. Like he just hasn't been there. So they could be good. It's just, you don't know what's going to happen at running back. You don't know what's going to happen with Michael Thomas. So I like them for the NFC South, but then you're the Jets. What the hell do you do? I mean, we're all just waiting on Aaron Rodgers, right? And it seems like the amount of talking that's going on, it seems like this week we should have some clarity, because you had the Packers coming out and saying like, listen, by March 15th, like we would like to know, because free agency and all that great stuff. I would imagine it's coming sometime this week. I just don't. If you're the Jets, like you're just waiting like everybody else. But I mean, the price has kind of gone up now. If you're the Jets and you like before Derek Carr made his decision, if he was just kind of hanging out there and, we didn't know, the Jets had him to fall back on, right? Because they could have been like, you know what, we'll give you $45 million a year. Who gives a crap? But now it's literally Jimmy Garoppolo. We don't know about Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers if Aaron Rodgers winds up getting moved. And one costs a lot more, but the Packers just got a little bit more leverage if they're wanting to move on from Rodgers.
I think if the Jets can't land Aaron Rodgers
back up somewhere,
like if they can't get Aaron Rodgers, they get Russell Wilson.
The Cardinals.
The Jets get Russell Wilson.
No, you just want to get rid of
whatever
Russell
team
Wilson.
Doesn't get Rodgers gets Russell Wilson.
Oh, that's not. No.
Imagine Russell Wilson reuniting with Nathaniel Hackett in New York City, one of the toughest media markets on earth for athletes. It's a dangerous game to be waiting on an Aaron Rodgers decision. That's all I know.
If the Jets came to you and said, we'll give you a 4th round pick for Russell Wilson right now.
No, I'm ready for the Russ redemption story. I'm just kidding about Russ going to the Jets.
I'm just kidding.
If Russ is really bad next year, cool. I'll revel in the misery again. But if he's good, we get the comeback story of the century, really, when you think about it. Who suffered more than Russell Wilson last year? Not many people.
There's going to be the monkey paw, and like Russell Wilson's going to have like a good season, but so is Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson wins MVP.
Yeah, and you're just like, but guys, Russell Wilson did pretty well too.
Like, don't care. Don't care.
Because then it's gonna be like, why didn't you do as well as Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson did better than you, and you're like, damn it.
Dang it, because he's older than him. Older.
Happens. It happens.
But
yeah,
what was I gonna
Jets,
say?
you're in a weird spot right now. But guess what? Price just went up if we are moving him. Like I've said, as someone who has been unfortunately pretty locked in to a lot of talk, and there's been a lot of talk, it just seems more and more reporters are indicating how the Packers are feeling, because any story I read about Aaron Rodgers and how he's feeling, I honestly disregard at this point, because he came out and said, he's like, Ian Rapport, good at your job. Like Adam Schefter, good at their job, but they don't know anything. Like they don't, when it comes to Rodgers, they don't know, because anybody in his inner circle is not talking to them. So
Jets.
Yeah.
Let's fly. Also, high knees on Jets.
Ooh.
God. Wednesday is the 8th. So that's the 1-year anniversary of Aaron Rodgers deciding to go back to Green Bay and the Russell Wilson trade. Yeah. So I think Rodgers makes his announcement Wednesday, exactly 1 year after he made the same decision last year.
I'm just saying, I know it's over, but Aaron Rodgers Tuesday tomorrow.
Oh, on McAfee? No, what I think is going to happen is we're going to think he's going to do it, and he's going to milk all those views coming in to watch him make a decision, and he's going to be like, I'm still thinking about it, and then he'll do it the next day.
I just don't, again, it all depends. Has he actually had conversations with the Packers yet? Because that's the first mode of business.
He's communicated with them telepathically, according to him.
If they didn't hear, that's on them, honestly.
What if they walked in? It was like, I've been talking to you guys telepathically. Nobody's picked up the phone. So I would like to be traded for that reason.
I remember when we did an emergency GPS for the Russell Wilson trade, and we were talking about how dumb the Seahawks were. And
oh, yeah, I talked trash one time in my life, and it backfired.
One time?
Mm-hmm.
One time?
Mm-hmm. I've learned my lesson.
Did you though?
Never have optimism about football ever again.
Now that's the right takeaway.
Yeah.
That is the right takeaway. That stream did go until midnight, didn't it? That was a great time. That was a good time.
Oh, we went that late? Oh, midnight your time.
Yeah, because I'm 2 hours ahead of you. So that's it. Listen, we write in these scripts. We write in these scripts. We're writing them. One script at a time.
See, here's the tough thing for the Saints, though, because they can't really just cut Michael Thomas or Alvin Kamara. They're both like a year away from them being able to do it. Kamara can miss all of next season, depending on what happens.
It would hurt.
But do you think, like, if you're Michael Thomas, are you excited to come back and play for the Saints with Derek Carr landing in New Orleans?
So what's left?
And I don't think he was necessarily out of New Orleans completely, but he hasn't been healthy. And it's just been kind of like a weird situation where I feel like we don't have all of the info from the Saints or Michael Thomas on everything that's kind of happened there. But
so right now, so he has 2 years left on his deal, right? Yeah. The thing is, he's gonna be 31 when he'll be 32 when he's a free agent, right? If they just like wait out the rest of his contract.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
That's the age receivers die.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think maybe you're excited to come back and play just because you need to kind of prove that you can. The thing is, like, do you get another contract out of this from another team? Like, if you have a good, good season or two, maybe he gets another deal from another team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be hard. I think it's going to be hard for him to get another deal.
Packers wouldn't.
Because he's got to really ball out with.
Dude, next year is bad. Next year, Michael Thomas's cap hit is $60 million. It's 59 mil. That because they gave him that huge contract. It was a 5-year, $96 million contract.
Yeah.
And
he had leverage by setting the record for most receptions in a season.
Yes.
The old Drew Breezy.
Dude, like that's rough. That's the thing too. The Saints are still gonna be paying for him too because there's 2 void years after that.
Yeah.
Which honestly, that has allowed so many teams to manipulate the cap because they're just pushing and pushing it. And same thing with the Packers. Like the Packers are still gonna be paying for like Aaron Rodgers, David Bakhtiari, Kenny Clark. Oh yeah, we're gonna be doing all that.
Yeah. Because his dead cap this year is $26 million.
Yeah.
It's like they got to find somebody willing to trade for him, I feel like. And they're not going to net anything significant, but maybe they could get away from some of that contract.
Yeah. Maybe they do.
I don't know.
But Saints, you got your QB. And you have
now we know. The
garbage cap
domino
space
is down.
Dude, this stuff is going to get pushed.
Derek and the Dominoes. Wow, what a reference. Who likes old music?
You good?
Nope, I could keep going.
Sometimes you just gotta let it go. You just keep going. All right. In addition, you did have, of course, the combine, in which lots of people saw how freakishly good. And it just seems that, especially this year, it seems that like edge rushers are like the fastest people on the planet, because I think there was 11 of them that ran under a 4.6. Which at the end of the day, like your 40-yard dash as an edge rusher really doesn't matter. It's more of like your it's the split, right? Like that's more important because you're not actually running 40 yards most of the time. But yeah these guys are like, there's some insane athletes in this draft. So
no, but like, you know, the speed with edge rushers, the other aspect there is depending on which defensive coordinator they end up playing with and how they use those edge rushers. Like, are they going to drop into coverage frequently? So that kind of athleticism makes them a little bit more versatile. So like, I think it can add some value, but it's so crazy to me. And Dan Campbell kind of hit on this. He's like, we're not boosting guys up our draft boards on how they perform out there in their underwear. Like, it's all about what they put on tape. And we just saw 2 years ago, like Zach Wilson's stock just rise based on his great pro day, which, I mean, it seemed like that. And we're seeing it kind of happen right now with Anthony Richardson. The difference is like, he's an athletic freak.
His RAS score was like a 10, right? Like it was insane.
So his athleticism is so good that I get why a team's like, you know what? I don't give a shit about the production at Florida. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but a guy this talented we'll work with, and we will build around him, and we'll give him time to develop into like the passer we need. He's like,
but we knew that, right? Like we knew that he was going to be kind of like a project QB and that he's going to take time to develop. And that's why like it makes sense for a team to take a flyer on who already has a QB, right? Like, and it's one of those situations like Seahawks, the Lions, someone who has like already a QB that they're like, maybe not crazy about, but they're there. Geno Smith might, they're going to give him
Seahawks would be perfect for him. Oh my God.
But just go there, sit, and then like see what happens. Like sit for a couple years. I know that this is not like the popular thing in the NFL, but people were talking about, and I'm not trying to like do clickbait because that's on Thursdays, but like people were comparing like Bryce Young, right, and Richardson. And they were saying that Bryce Young, there's the concerns, right? There's the concern about his arm, then there's concern about his height, right? That's like the big thing. And those are things like you can't really change. Those are things you can't really change. But with Richardson, he has all of this like athleticism and he's just like that good. He can become a better passer. If he just sits back and learns and gets behind good coaches, he learns some things from a steady QB, he can get better. So I can understand like that allure of like, hey, let's go get this freak athlete who is really freaking good and see if we can turn him into just a stud.
Yeah, he's been like Josh Allen is kind of the comp they're using for him.
Yeah.
The difference is he doesn't have the arm of Josh Allen. And even though Josh Allen kind of had his like completion percentage in college was a little bit low, like he was doing some things at Wyoming that you were like, oh shit. Because like we were following him here in Denver because he was at Wyoming and John Elway went and watched him the year before he came out. And I think even that same year. And when you're throwing up in Wyoming, you're also like, you're throwing in wind, like a lot. So him going to Buffalo, kind of perfect. But in terms of all the other parts of Allen's game, in terms of athleticism, Richardson's better. And you would argue Josh Allen's one of the most freakish athletic quarterbacks in the league, right?
Yes.
The way, the way he's incorporated running into his game, you could say, yeah, Richardson be better.
So to put out this point, I said this as soon as Jordan Love was drafted, not knowing what was going to happen, obviously, but I said this as soon as Jordan Love was drafted. If Jordan Love is not good, like let's just say he gets 2 seasons. Let's say that Rodgers leaves and Love gets 2 seasons. If Love is not good, he has gotten every opportunity to sit, to learn, and to try and like get better. And you've even seen the little glimpses of Jordan Love playing. You've seen like, hey, there's been progression there from his first year where he had no preseason all the way to now. Like you saw it in the Eagles game. You see that he plays a little bit better, but Jordan Love, like it's all on him now. If he actually gets the start, I don't imagine he's going to come out be amazing, but give him like 2 seasons. And if he's not great, then that's on Jordan Love. Then it just is what it is. I think it's just you have a better opportunity because you're not it's different QBs, right? It's that old mentality. It's like, do you get thrown right into the fire or do you have a chance to like sit and develop? Me personally, I like to sit and develop because I think there's so many things that can go wrong, whether it's coaching, whether it's injury, whether it's bad O-line, whether it's all these things that could wind up screwing up the progression of a young QB.
Yeah. It's tough because if you want to use like the Josh Allen comp, they started him right away and they just, believed in him. And I think you, as a quarterback, if you know the organization is behind you and that they're going to stick with you, even at your lows, I think that's a way you can develop by going in right away. But with Anthony Richardson, let's just say it is Seattle is the place he goes, or even Detroit. I think the 2 things that they're going to do is he can sit there, which you're right. I think it's incredibly beneficial to young QBs to do that. And they're going to sit behind guys I think you could learn a lot from in Jared Goff and Geno Smith because both of them have not had like traditional paths of success.
Yeah.
And like in different ways, like Goff's been the starter the whole time, but he got traded after going to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think you can learn a lot from those guys, but you can use Anthony Richardson immediately. Like he doesn't have to be a starter, but red zone situations, bring him in.
Yeah.
But like neither Geno or Jared Goff are threats to really like run the ball as a quarterback. You throw in Richardson in the red zone with Seattle with good running backs, Detroit with good running backs, like they become, and Detroit was one of the best red zone teams already last season. So there's this aspect of where he can get meaningful reps and ease into playing. And even if your plan is to develop him, he can contribute right away, as opposed to the way like the Packers have used Jordan Love. Like they're not going to take Aaron Rodgers out of the game to, give Jordan Love some looks in the red zone because you just wouldn't do that with a quarterback as good as Rodgers. So I think he could be a weapon right away. And when the Broncos had that 30th pick, and when he first announced he was coming to the draft, Richardson, I was like, well, that would be at first it's like he'll be a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick, right?
Yeah.
That's how raw he is. They think as a passer right now is like 2nd or 3rd round, and then they saw him like, oh God, should he go number 1 overall? But I was like, this would be an interesting pick for the Broncos because we have Russ. He's the starter. You're stuck with him. But you get a guy who makes the Broncos, who sucked in the red zone, maybe more dynamic, and he can do something that Russ doesn't do as well anymore, is be a threat with his legs and throw the ball. I was like, that would be fun at 30. And then, that pick was gone a week later. But I was a little bit excited as a Broncos fan to be like, that would be an interesting pick. And now they're like, he's not going to make it out of the top 6, 7.
That's the thing. Like, where does he go now? Because we're talking about him being a QB that needs to develop. Is there a team that's in that top that would let him actually develop? Or are they just going to throw him in as a starter? Because is he now up there with the CJ Stroud? Is he now up there with a Bryce Young? Again, his athleticism is there, and I'm sure it's going to help him move up draft boards. Because here's the best case scenario if you are a Lions fan, and I hate upset, but if he somehow is there, what was it? They have 18, I think, like pick 18. You are running up to that podium because you got your defensive stud, right, in the top 10, and then you go up and get your guy later. Even if you just trade a second, you know what I mean? Like, you could get the best of both worlds. You have your hopefully to be franchise QB, and you get your defensive talent too.
With Lions going probably like best corner, where they're picking at what is it, 6?
There's a couple things that they can
maybe
go towards, honestly. Yeah, 6 and 18.
For Richardson, I honestly, of the teams that could take him, the Colts at 4 would be the best team for him. And I think that's because Shane Steichen has done such a great job developing quarterbacks. He was with Herbert, he was with Hurts, and boom, Richardson.
He's looking
from Philly, came to Denver to look at colleges, and I want to know if there's any cool spots to hit to pass time. Also, opinions, Lamar. You're asking the wrong guy for cool spots in Denver because I do not leave this basement and go out to Denver. Coors Field's cool when baseball's happening.
Yeah.
Downtown, there's a lot of bars and restaurants.
Denver's a cool city.
It is. I just, I don't do anything.
I get you.
And now it's like cool stuff for me is like, what can we go take Carmi to do? Oh, the Children's Museum, the aquarium. Those are cool when you have kids,
I was thinking, what if you took vitamins and then went to an aquarium? That'd probably be a cool time.
Took vitamins?
Yeah.
Vitamins.
And then you looked at the fishies. Then you're just like, I'm going to get you out of there.
I know what it's like to be a fish now.
Yeah.
You can breathe the water.
Mm-hmm.
The water is your air. Whoa.
Yes. So what I want
jellyfish are not made of jelly.
Nope, we're just going to keep going. Okay. Eric Kendricks got released too. Allen Robinson is trying to seek a trade.
The Rams are going to let Allen Robinson.
After Allen Robinson got traded to the Rams.
Yeah. It's so bizarre that that didn't work out. I saw a stat too. Maybe NFL Network said it.
I really thought he'd be great on that team.
That Allen Robinson was open more than any other Rams receiver last year.
Yeah. Yep.
Stafford hurt. They got Cup. And the Rams are willing to pay part of his salary.
So he signed with the Rams. I'm sorry. He didn't get traded to the Rams. Sorry, Zach. Yeah. I'm sorry. He signed with them. Yeah.
So Allen Robinson, that could be a guy somewhere. What if he just goes back to the Bears?
Come to the Packers.
Well, they stole our idea, Tom. Did you see a Twitter running with our Bears trade from 1 to 2 and then trade more picks?
Listen, there's been a lot of thievery lately.
We had it first, didn't we?
Yep, we did. It's okay,
They're
Brandon.
getting crazy. The Bears going from 1 to 2 to 3 and just boom, 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 boom.
That's it. Do we want to go through the draft order real quick and do like where we think QBs are going?
I mean, we could. We could save that for Friday.
Okay, we can say that for Friday too.
I don't know.
Because you said something interesting. You said Anthony Richardson to the Colts at 4 makes sense. Do you you think it's just because of the coaching though?
Yeah,
I mean, wouldn't have to trade up.
For me, it's fit. I think right now of the young teams, the young teams, of the teams with the high draft picks. Like, I don't trust Houston to develop anybody. The Cardinals aren't going to take them. I'm not sure who jumps to 1, but I don't know if you're jumping to 1 to take a quarterback. I hate Josh McDaniels developing anyone for the Raiders. Yeah. I like the Colts because of coaching and the fit there. I do like Carolina because they have Frank Reich, but they're sitting at 9. And maybe a sneaky player there, the Atlanta Falcons. I think Arthur Smith's an underrated coach. And I felt like Ryan Tannehill dropped off after Arthur Smith left the Titans. And I think schematically, I think that would be a good fit as well. But they probably...
They have Desmond Ridder.
Like, I didn't think anybody was going to be talking about Anthony Richardson going in that top 5.
I don't even know if he does though. I
don't know either. It's it's just the excitement of the combine right now, right?
He might be this year's Lamar Jackson, in which a team trades into the first round again at the very end to go and draft him. Right? Because that's what the Ravens did. Like, didn't they trade up like back into the first round at the very end and grab him?
But I think because of Lamar Jackson and because of Josh Allen, if they're trading it'll be trading up in the first, middle of the first round, not.
Oh, so you think that's where he goes?
I think so. Like, I think he's just risen so drastically over not even just the combine, but over the last month.
But can we call a timeout for a second?
Call him the Jesus of the combine because he has risen.
Because this is why I
had to get that out of my system before clickbait.
I know you did. I know. I think he's rising up draft boards for people who are studying the draft and are commentators and media people and content creators and what have you. We honestly have absolutely no idea on what other teams' boards he's risen up on. Now, I will say there are teams that do take some of that into account. And there are teams, because you look at like Trayvon Walker, for example, who got drafted, instead of Agent Hutchinson, like last year, he had that meteoric rise too. Because if you remember with RBT, we did that like content creator draft, and Trayvon Walker was available when the Packers were picking, like in the late 20s. So I was like, yeah, let's get him. Okay, that makes sense. So now, is he actually rising up other boards, like of actual teams?
I think so. And I think just it's due to the evolution of how teams utilize the quarterback position. I think Justin Fields' success, Josh Allen's success, Lamar Jackson's success, you get these extremely talented quarterbacks, and teams lean into the fact that they can murder a defense by running the football in addition to throwing. And that while you have this young developmental window, you don't shy away from allowing them to run. Like, it's such like a fun brand of football to watch as well. It's like you've got that first 4 to 5 year window where they're also going to be really affordable, the quarterbacks. And I think if you take a really athletically gifted QB, you have like a longer window to develop them because they can run the football. If you kind of look at Zach Wilson, he was supposed to be really athletic, but he's not out there making plays with his legs, right? He's just not being effective with his arm. But if Zach Wilson were converting first downs, being a threat in the red zone, as a QB who could also run, the Jets, it might not just be this like foregone conclusion that they need to move on from him right now. So I think you have a longer window to struggle. And there's like I don't know. I think there's a benefit there, but
laziness.
Who knows?
Laziness, pure laziness.
No, Tom's got a very nice haircut.
I didn't get a haircut. I mean, I got one a few weeks ago, but
the Seahawks make too much sense in my eye because Pete Carroll's another guy who does a great job coaching his team to his QB strengths. who I criticized just a year ago.
Ooh. But here's the thing. Geno's a free agent, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Like in a week? Do you think that's interesting? Do you think the Seahawks are pressured to give him a deal right now, or because of how these guys performed at the combine, they're like, you know what? We'll wait. Because is there another team that's going to go out and be like, oh my God, let's go get Geno Smith? That's great, because like you have the Cardinals because they need a team, but Geno's going to want an actual contract. Like he's going to want like a 4-year deal. So the Cardinals are not going to give him that. I can see the Cardinals, someone asking like, where's Jameis Winston going to go? I could honestly see Jameis Winston going to the Cardinals because they just need a quarterback for a year.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So that would make a lot of sense to me. On top of that, I think with Geno, it's like the Jets, I don't think that Geno, I don't think that it makes enough sense for them to be like, yeah, let's go out and get Geno and sign him to, like, that's going to be our big QB splash. But then it begs the question, would you rather have Geno Smith or Jimmy Garoppolo? And that's a question.
Damn, I think I'd rather have Geno.
I think you'd rather have Geno
and
too.
I love Jimmy. But yeah. Because it's just been the thought has been that Geno's going back to Seattle, right?
Yes.
Like they still might draft a quarterback, but that they're going to get a deal done with Geno Smith. If he becomes a legit free agent, that makes everything interesting.
He could go to the South. Like he could go to the NFC South like right now because 3 out of those 4 teams need quarterbacks.
Go to Carolina. I like that too.
I'm just
saying.
Jacoby
Brissett's going to be a free agent as well.
Because here's the problem, right?
I liked Brissett to the Cardinals, but
there's Geno. I'm saying 4 years because he's not. I don't think Geno's going to sign a 1-year deal. I don't think. I think because he wants that. He wants
the money after this year.
Correct.
He's kind of earned.
He wants that. So like for the Seahawks, it doesn't make sense for them to sign Geno to a 4-year deal and draft Anthony Richardson. That doesn't make any sense. If it was like a 2-year deal or if it was a 1-year deal, I get it. But I don't think
that 3rd year maybe they can get out of, right?
Yes. So it doesn't make sense. Like
it does, because you could if Geno plays well still next season, you could trade him. Also, like if you're talking about the Cardinals and Jameis Winston going maybe to Arizona, it's really about which quarterback who's going to be available and willing to play for 1 year, but can also succeed with.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Good. Shots, explosive.
Sound effect coaching.
No one's going to Arizona. Never mind. No one. You know what? They're at number 3. The draft prospect is going to walk up to the podium crying. He's going to be like, you know what? I don't want to play football no more.
Buckle up. We're going to have some fun.
Oh, what I am excited about with this draft is it's starting to feel like we might get a lot of movement up top.
The first round. It might be wild.
It might not, but somebody's going to want Bryce Young still. I still think he's going to be number 1.
Yes.
CJ Stroud, second, should be the second QB taken, but that's not a given. But to get those guys, it feels like teams got to move. And the Bears might be willing to play ball with the Texans to fall back to that second spot and to maybe trade again. But I don't know. I hope that's kind of how it shakes out.
Because you have, again, this is the you know who the real winners of the combine are? The Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are the biggest winner of the combine because even though the wide receiver free agents are doo-doo, like they need a wide receiver, like they are going to be able to be like, yep, who wants it? Like you see all these athletic QBs, who wants to get the cream of the crop? Go and get them. Because now you have a bidding war that's going to be breaking out. The Cardinals, if you're the Cardinals, honestly, the smart thing that you do, you trade out of that and you get picks from next year. Like you'll get picks this year too, but you get 1st round picks next year because you might then be in a spot where being like, hey, this year was such a disaster. We might have to go get a QB next year. And we're going to be so bad. Like, you go and you probably have like 2 top 10 picks. Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. The Cardinals, they should stockpile.
I think you trade out of that spot. Like, again, you can go and get defense. You'll probably get the best defensive guy available. But yeah, you trade out of that spot and you load up on picks next year.
Yeah, this felt like a draft that months ago, you weren't going to have 3 quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. And now that could be a possibility.
It could happen.
Could. Probably won't. We always get a little overexcited about what could happen. And then it usually gets a little more conservative than, we would like as fans to see all the movement. But what's funny about the combine is every year we tell ourselves, like, we're not going to get too excited about guys running around without pads.
Yeah.
But it shows you like how impressive these college athletes are. When every year you tell yourself that, and then you watch it and you're like, oh my God, they should trade everything to get him.
Yes.
This edge rusher should be number 1 because of that 40 time. Yep. Oh, the 3-code drill. The 3-code drill. Let's get him over here now. We do it every time.
Wow, you just made the tree face when he did the thing with the Whopper.
When he's having sex with hamburgers.
Yes.
He's the real hamburger, Larry. That should be a pun.
You are right, which is why, like, the Senior Bowl, like, that is honestly, like, good tape that a lot of teams, like, hold in hhigh regard, because, like, the Senior Bowl is really important because you see him actually play. That's why they go out and they scout, because the combine is important. But I think we've made the NFL, and they've done a very good job at this, because I would argue, you could disagree, 5 to 7 years ago, there wasn't this much buzz about the combine. There was like a good amount, but the NFL has been working very hard to turn it into a spectacle. They succeeded with the draft because that has turned into this enormous thing. The wait time between the combine and the draft just builds up that anticipation, and they really make it feel like an event. The combine is on its way there, and that's why you kind of see all of this. So,
yeah, they have done a really good job with that. I think that the fan interaction with, you're right, like the fan takeaway from the combine gets a little bit bigger every year, especially with Twitter and the internet. But I think, like, in terms of players kind of rising and players getting maybe too much stock because they perform well at the combine, that's always happened. That's just, it's just been a little bit quieter. Because I also think, like, we have so much more access to, like, good information about draft picks, and whether that's people breaking them down on YouTube, whether that's like even statistical websites that track them, like your mock draft simulators, like people love doing, like, it's, you don't even have to know a ton, but you do 10 mock drafts, you get more familiar with players, you see where they're going. It's kind of cool that there is so much hype around it, especially when stuff gets real dead around here in the news cycle.
So that's actually a really great point, right? Because DK Metcalf, there was like the shirtless pick, there was like his speed, like all this, because people knew that he was an athlete, but people were like, but he can't run routes, right? Like, that's the thing. He's just a go guy. And I was 100% guilty of that, because I just watched a bunch of his tape and I was like, it just seems they primarily used him to run go routes and just stretch the field. And then, like, obviously he has shown that he's a much better athlete, but this also shows, like, that's how important coaching is, because he could have went to another team and they used him the exact same way, like a Mike Wallace was used, right? Where it's just like, hey, you have a lot of top end speed, just run. Like, we're not going to utilize you a ton.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's the college coaching and the college program that they're playing at as well. Yep. Like, those are weird X factors that are really hard to consider. It's like, are they playing in a pro style offense? Is that offense utilizing all their strengths? Or is this guy so athletic that they do just have to run these 1 or 2 routes and the dude's always there and the quarterback and him have chemistry? It's that, and then it's the fit with the team. It's why a guy can look like such a slam dunk and then shit just doesn't work out. It's what makes it fun, though. It's so
that's what I love about the draft, because nobody has any clue. Truly, even the teams can have the best scouts. They could do all the homework. They can watch every second of game film. They can watch the combine. They can have the in-person interviews. Jay Sternberger, they said the most important thing about the combine is the in-person interviews.
Yeah.
Because that's really, it holds a lot of weight for a lot of teams. You can have all these things, and the guy can still suck. And it could be anything. It literally can be any reason why. It could just be it's not a good fit. The scheme is not there. Is that like colleges said, you know what? This one guy is really good lining up here or doing this one thing really well. And so that's why those stats are going to be inflated. That's why, for example, you can have these guys drop down to the 5th round and they're studs because it's like, oh, well, they just weren't utilized a lot in college. Like there's so many things. And that's why teams like the more draft picks you have, the better opportunities you have, because it's a game of numbers. And you hope that the guys that you're drafting in the top 10 go on to be really good. But Brandon, I mean, how many times have we seen, teams be picking in the top 10 and the guys just suck?
Yeah.
You got a lot of draft busts.
It happens. And even if like all those things are right, then there's always the one killer is just like injuries. Like that's even if it's the right guy, right fit, and then injuries can derail their career. You know who else had a really good pro day? Old Paxton Lynch. There's the one season really good production thing, especially I feel like at the quarterback position. You just don't know. But what we do know is the Saints won't be looking for a QB because they got Derek Carr.
Nope.
Raiders might be. The Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders rumors have really cooled.
Because the Raiders have basically said, like, no, we don't want him anymore.
Yeah. Because he said, no, I don't want you, Josh.
I think it's the Jets or the Packers. And that's it. So, but again, we have to look at what the Packers want now, too. Yeah. Which is like the little wrench in there. But I imagine we're finally going to get an answer this week. And I think I think Zach just said that in the chat, too. We might see the 1st round pick dealt next week.
Oh, an early deal?
Like the Bears. Like because it might be like what the 49ers and the Dolphins did. You mean? Like
Bears, we're going to be dealing this. We're going to be doing multiple deals. So let's just get this first one off the books.
Yeah. Dude, can you imagine though? But like the Bears literally could be set if they let's just say Houston blows them out of the water and is like, you know what? We're going to give you like ours. Do they have 2?
The Bears trade to 2. At 2, they draft Anthony Richardson, and they run the first true 2 QB system in NFL history.
No, dude, listen. They trade to 2, then they trade to 4, and they just get all the draft picks. All of them. Just get all. So, yeah. So, again, I imagine you're going to see that be moved. Listen, folks, I'm not going to lie. Free agency is one of my favorite times of the year. I love it so effing much. Next week is going to be insane, and I'm so here for it. But now, like, we're about to see how crazy it's going to get, because if Aaron Rodgers is on the move,
I like free agency week more than draft week because we're dealing with more NFL proven production, right? There's always, like what we just spent the last 5 minutes talking about, the mystery of college athletes and how they translate to the NFL. But NFL free agency, like, when a guy is good, when it's probably going to work.
But that's why teams overspend in free agency, because it's not, you don't have the what if. If you just go like, hey, but at the same time, Kenny Golladay.
Allen Robinson. You get, and you've got DeAndre Hopkins might be traded soon.
Yep.
We didn't even really talk how much about Lamar Jackson, but that situation seems to be getting less stable.
It's likely
chances of him staying there seem less likely than they did a week ago, but we'll see.
Yeah, free agency was honestly, last year was the craziest free agency I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I don't think it will get that crazy if guys like Rodgers or Lamar are on the move. Then it's going to be open the floodgates, because that's
the first round of the draft last year was pretty wild too.
It was
like
fun.
The AJ Brown trade coming out of kind of nowhere.
Then the Vikings colluding with the Lions.
Worked. All right. Did we navigate everybody?
I think we did. Lions. I think we did. Perno, what do you got coming out?
Busy day.
Oh.
Got it. Best and worst of the XFL.
Ooh.
And I'll have a obligatory Derek Carr episode as well.
There you go.
So don't rewatch the first 20 minutes of this show because I'll just make a 14-minute video about it.
I still don't think Henry goes anywhere. I think he's going to stay with the Titans. In my humble opinion. I don't think he goes anywhere.
Henry to the Cardinals. Henry to the Bears. Ooh, they could have some extra draft picks to throw around.
There you go. Yeah, I'll have I was gonna do Commanders, but now that the Derek Carr thing is dropped, I'll do a Saints fan reaction to the season. So I'm gonna have that come out today. And then I realized my onesie didn't come in yet. So I got the space helmet and I got the space tent and the blindfold, but I don't get the onesie yet. If the onesie comes early today, I'll do my Darkness Retreat stream tonight. If not, they'll be pushed. So yeah.
You got to make it. Oh,
I was gonna do it on Saturday, but then Amazon kept delaying my stuff. So
wow.
What are you gonna do? But folks, we appreciate you. We'll be back on Wednesday with an edition of GPS. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. Thank you so much for watching. And you have been navigated.
And the car has been parked in all lines.